Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. So I have to sit there and say that this episode was definitely better than yesterday's episode in some instances. Now I gotta sit there and talk about the Sonny and Nina stuff. So it actually turns out that Nina wasn't even looking for Sonny. She was going to go and visit, I think Nathan's gravesite, or was it Nell's? I couldn't remember which one. I think it was Nell. Because, yeah, it was Nell. Because she actually, this idiot actually planted her daughter's gravesite, or her daughter's grave, in the same area that Sonny and Carly buried Morgan in. So I think she was over there, going towards her gravesite. And she runs into him. Yep, Sonny pretty much gave her all the smoke, and I was here for it. Nina tried to give a bunch of BS excuses. Oh, I was doing it for you. I was, you were happy as Mike. You were safe as Mike. And this, that, and the third. And, Sonny wasn't having it. He wasn't having any of it. Between the excuses. Oh, at first I did it for Carly. But then I fell in love with you. Everything that she was pretty much just spewing out her mouth. Sonny wasn't there for it. Sonny wasn't there for it. I wasn't there for it. And most people weren't there for it. And I actually wrote this in my notes too. Because throughout this dingbat conversation with Sonny, she managed to say one thing that I was like, actually I had to put my head up and be like, wow, she actually made sense for a minute. And this is when Sonny was sitting there talking about if he knew that he was Sonny, he would have made a call, he would have erased her debt, he would have made life easy for them, especially in Lenny's final days. And that's when Nina was like, you gave them so much more. You gave them love and friendship and compassion and just being there for, just being there, just being yourself was enough, was more than enough. And I was like, you know what? She actually makes sense. I mean, in that sentence, she actually made sense. But then after that, it just went downhill. And, I was there for it. I loved it. Because here's the thing. If she got that tongue lashing from Sonny, oh man, oh my. I can't wait till she gets that from the rest of the group, when she gets that from Carly, when she gets that from Jocelyn, when she gets that from Michael. Oh, that's going to be so great. That is definitely going to be cake worthy. Oh my goodness, I am getting excited just thinking about it. And it was great because it went exactly like Maxie said it would. Of course, she was still just like, I can't forget Mike. I can't forget the time that we shared. And I'm like, okay, all right, fine. I mean, if you want to sit there and keep living in this somewhat fancy land of, calling him Mike and him being Mike, I'm like, all right, now, you know what? I guess to play a bit of devil's advocate, I guess. Sonny wasn't there for the lies. He was like, forget it, forget that life, forget all that, whatever. The funny thing about people and their feelings is that no matter how much you try, no matter how much you don't want to feel something or remember it or whatever, because he said he remembers, his time at Nixon Falls, he remembers being with her, and yeah, he was like, he remembered her leading him on. But here's the thing, though. As much as I hate saying this, those feelings, no matter how they got put there, they're real, And I really feel like there is, even if it's like 5%, I personally, I'm going to just sit there and say this straight up. I don't get what they see in Nina. I really don't. Maybe if it was Michelle Stanford, okay, fine. This woman, I don't get it. I really don't. I don't get it. I'm trying to be somewhat nice, but I'll be honest, I don't get it. But with that being said, those feelings, no matter how they got there, they mean something. They didn't just go away overnight. You can sit there and be like, I'm glad to be with my family, and I love my wife and stuff like that, and that's all perfectly fine, and I believe that he believes that. But I also believes that he feels something for Nina. That wasn't actually as hard saying as the whole Jason and Carly thing. I feel like he does. There's going to be a part of him that does still feel something for her. And I'll leave it at that. With Jason and Carly, I felt like this scene, there was a lot of double talk. It's like they were talking about one thing, but they meant something else. Are we still going to be good as friends? Am I going to lose you? And yada, 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 and what we're going to do. It's like they didn't have the direct conversation of, alright, let's not get that we still feel something for each other, but Sonny's back, and we got to kind of just squash that. And that's not what they said. In this conversation, they did not sit there and talk about the feelings and how they got to kind of just, forget about it or whatever. But I felt like when they were talking, that's what they meant. Because if I were just to sit there and watch that, first time watching the soap opera, I would just be upset and annoyed at, like, why the hell are y'all sitting there talking about this and you're not talking about the fact that y'all got married and got feelings and all this other crap, and now, like, we're just not going to talk about that? But in a lot of ways, I felt like that was just my interpretation of it. Which, I'm going to be honest, I don't know how, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I get that with Jason, Carly, and Sonny, they're the three musketeers and everything like that, They're a trio, whatever. But what man on this planet is actually going to be that comfortable having their girlfriend and their wife be that? It's like they're... Jason and Carly's friendship goes beyond best friend status. Okay? And it's not like Sonny doesn't know their history or anything like that. But, when Carly sits there and says that she'll do anything for Jason, this is beyond just like, I'll give him a kidney transplant or donate blood or something like that. It goes beyond that. And I just don't know any man that would ever feel that level of being comfortable knowing that their wife or their girlfriend is that close to another man or another woman on that level. And so I'm looking at this, and they're holding each other's hands and all this other stuff, and I'm just like, why am I just now seeing, out of years of watching this show, why am I now just seeing like, yo, I don't know how he's cool with that, but that's a problem. And it's always been a problem, but I'm not going to really kind of divulge into that. But, before they end their conversation, I think Carly said, and I had to rewind it a couple of times, but she was like, when are we going to sit there and tell Sonny? When are we going to sit there and tell Sonny about, I guess, the feelings that they had towards each other? When are you going to sit there and tell him? And I have a feeling that answer is going to be never until it slips up or something happens. Um, yeah, you know, Sonny's going to be upset. And I'll sit there and kind of look at Sonny like, bro, listen, you let your wife get that close to another man, and this happens and you're surprised? Alright, bro. Let's talk about Esme for a minute. You know, she's supposed to be their villain. You know, the kids is, you know, the trio's villain or whatever. And I'm just not there looking at it like, this is the best that they have? This is the best that they can do? I mean, as much as I didn't like Nell, and I felt like she was very, like, you know, what word did I use for her? Very one-trick kind of villain. But, you know, she was a legitimate threat. And granted, I guess she started off slow, and maybe Esme started off that way, but I'm just like, I know she's supposed to be the villain, but one is extremely difficult to sit there and watch her scenes, because she comes across as so pretentious, and it's like, she goes out her way to annoy them, which in turn annoys me, because I gotta sit there and listen to her talk and say all those pretentious things and just sound all like arrogant and just, I don't know. I hope that she has a little bit more in store, because, I mean, obviously I'm not feeling this character so far. They bring her in to shake things up, and I think that's great, but it's like, come on, really? Like, y'all can do better than this. Esme is not, like, come on. Esme has a quick talk with Jocelyn, and I'm gonna be honest, I really didn't understand where it was supposed to go. Because this entire scene, it just comes across as Esme is being super fake and talking about how she wants to hang out and be all besties and stuff like that, and Jocelyn's just like, yo, I got, like, actual friends to sit there and hang out with, and I don't have time for you. And was generally that whole scene. And I feel like that's a lot of their scenes, where it's like, is this actually going somewhere? Like, what is the point of constantly poking at Jocelyn? I mean, I get that she may have some sort of ulterior motives, but even so, at this point, it's like, yo, you can clearly see that these people don't want anything to do with you. You are constantly annoying them, and yet you're just still standing there smiling like everything is just cool. I don't really get her end game, and I feel like we need to start getting some answers. Meanwhile, you got Trina and Camps, and they're talking about Esme and how they're going to sit there and try to trap her, or trap both of them. And Jocelyn comes in, and Jocelyn pretty much just says, well, pretty much everyone already assumes that Esme is bad news. They talk about Spencer, and from the conversation that I gathered, they're going to sit there and try to trap Esme and Spencer, but they want to sit there and make sure that you know, because they feel like Spencer is in over his head, you know, like he doesn't really call the shots, and you know, she's kind of controlling him and probably going to lead him down a dark path or whatever. So, you know, now I guess they feel like they have a little bit more motivation to sit there and like, hold on a second. I don't know. The point is, they're going to sit there and try to trap them, but also they don't want to sit there and expose, or they don't want Spencer to get into too much trouble or whatever. I'm not going to lie. I'm not too sure. What the hell? Meanwhile, you got Spencer sitting there talking to Nicholas about how Esme is pretty much just the best thing ever, and she's so nice and cool, and this and that and the third, and I'm just like, I'm just looking at this whole situation. I'm just like, bro, listen, you chose this pretentious, high maintenance thing over Trina. Alright, bro. So he's not there talking about her like she's the best thing ever. And, Nicholas does bring up the fact like, yo, what about Trina? Seemed like y'all two were getting close. And, of course, Spencer's like, hey, listen, she's cool, this, that, and the third, but we're just friends. And, it's all about Esme or whatever. Now, Esme does get back and tell both of them that Sonny is alive. And Nicholas gets this idea, if Sonny's alive, then he could protect Ava, and Ava doesn't have to leave. So he runs out the door, and Esme gets super pissed off, like, oh, well, he's going to destroy all our hard work, and yada, yada, yada. We did all this to sit there and break them up, and, now our plan's going to go all sideways. And I'm just like, bro, do you hear her? You're not even this upset about them possibly getting back together. Like, she's more upset than you are. And you're not sitting there questioning that? I mean, of course he's not, because he doesn't really seem that bright. The sad thing, here's the thing, when I sit there and say he doesn't seem that bright, like, people could be book smart, but be completely and utterly stupid in so many ways. And I feel like Spencer is that type of person. Yeah, he came from privilege and went to all the best schools and everything like that. But I'm like, bro, when she seems like she's getting more upset than you about a plan that you want to sit there and enact and you start doing, and she's more upset than you, you're not even questioning that? Okay. And I think the last scene is Maxie, Scott, and nope, that is not the last scene. I actually have to sit there and think about that. Maxie, Scott, and Britt, which I'm not gonna lie, it really didn't add up to anything. I mean, they sat there and they talked about Obrecht, and they talked about Peter, and they talked about Nina for a little bit, and again, yeah, they talked about Obrecht. And I think they kind of came to the conclusion that Obrecht is possibly alive, and now they're going to sit there and try to find her. They just have to sit there and try to find the lead. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we're gonna sit there and look for Obrecht. We're clearly not going to do it in this episode, right? So this episode, this part of it was somewhat of a waste of time. Okay, cool. I'm not gonna lie, I can't sit there and think of one other thing that actually came out of their whole talk about, whatever, because they didn't really go anywhere. Which I have to sit there and say, the next scene with Obrecht and Victor Cassadine. That guy has been very busy. The actor that plays Victor, he was on Beyond Salem for a little bit, and now he's on GH like it's nothing. But then again, you got Ned and Justin, so never mind. Anyway, we finally find out what Victor wants from Obrecht. And yeah, he's going to talk about his love and everything like that, and he wants to be back together with her and stuff like that, but what he wants is, I guess he's working on some sort of research project or whatever. Don't know what it is, but he wants her help on it. And he's like, alright, listen, if you help me out with this whole project thing, then you can, see your daughter again. And I mean, with this whole disease, we just don't know how much time she has. To kind of give her more incentive to help him with the project. So she agrees. And I'm going to be honest, I was so glad that we found out what his endgame was. Because if his endgame was to then try to romance her, this, that, and the third, it clearly was not working. So, and I knew I knew it had to be more, and I really did hope it was. So, she says yes, and that's pretty much about it. I'm not gonna lie, I think that's about it. Like always, I feel like I'm usually missing something. Don't know what it is, but I feel like I'm missing something. And if I am, please write it down in the comment section below. Before I go, I do got a question. Alright, My question is, what does everyone else watch as far as soap operas besides General Hospital? Do you just watch General Hospital, or do you watch other soap operas? And what other soap operas do you watch? Like, do you watch Young and the Restless? Because I've been thinking about reviewing that, even though the whole CBS thing. Well, not the whole CBS thing. Well, the CBS thing, but morally, the Bold and the Beautiful thing. Because I got a copy strike or whatever on my channel a couple months ago. And I was sitting there wondering, like, well, what did I do to get that copyright strike on me? But then I see, what is her name? And at first I was wondering, was it just a simple fact that I was reviewing Bold and the Beautiful? But there's another, girl that reviews Bold and the Beautiful name. And I hope I pronounced her name right, because I'm really bad with names. Jessica? I think that's her name, Jessica. She reviews a lot of Bold and the Beautiful, episodes and stuff like that. And I have not seen her get one copyright strike, and I'm pretty sure I saw somebody else also review Bold and the Beautiful. So I don't think it's the fact that I'm reviewing Bold and the Beautiful, but I remember DC Soap Sanctuary was saying that it may have something to do with the music, the background music, which is, I guess, what makes some sort of sense, because I couldn't believe when I went all the way back. I even saw a General Hospital get like a copyright strike. I mean, granted, it wasn't permanent, like it was there, but it's like, it wasn't like a strike. It seemed like it was more of a warning. I don't know exactly what it was, but so that's why I'm sitting there thinking about reviewing other soap operas as well, like Young and the Restless, which I gotta sit there and say is ambitious and doing Bold and the Beautiful. I feel like I want to sit there and try to challenge myself. I've been going very up and down about it, especially saying that I do have a day job. But I don't know. I figure I'll try it out, and if it doesn't work, then it just doesn't work. But at least I can sit there and say I tried. So, yes, again, the question is, what other soap operas do you watch besides General Hospital? You watch Bold and the Beautiful, you watch Young and the Restless, you watch Days. And I know most people who watch, this review just watches General Hospital. But I'm going to sit there and say this, and I know that some people may have misgivings about Days, but I'm going to be honest. There's been times where I've watched General Hospital, and it's been like, and then I sit there and look at my notes, and I'm just like, how the hell am I actually going to sit there and review this? Like, I didn't even like this episode. How the hell am I going to sit there and review it? Which is bad, because I've been watching General Hospital for years. But then I sit there and watch Days of Our Lives, and even though there's some things like the music that can be kind of cringy, there's suspense moments where you have music that can be really cringy, but there's a lot of times where the episodes will be better than the episodes on General Hospital, and it pisses me off so much. This episode was good. This episode was pretty good for the most part, but so I got some snippets saying, like, if anyone is unsure about watching Days, I was unsure too. I was unsure too. I want to sit there and review something with soap operas, and somebody suggested that I watch Days of Our Lives because, a lot of it, like the writing and stuff like that, or they had like at least one of the writers from One Life to Live. And that was my first starter soap opera. And I gotta sit there and say, it's actually pretty damn good. It takes a while to get used to it, I'm not gonna lie. But the storyline is actually really good right now, and I'm gonna sit there and say this, and this is a person who loves General Hospital, who's been watching it for years. Give Days a try. That's all I'm saying, give it a try. with that being said, I'm going to go. Thank you for listening to me ramble for the last 5 minutes. Yeah, so with that being said, I'm going to go. Thank you for watching. Be safe. Like I said, let me know other soap operas that, anyone watches besides General Hospital. Have a great weekend, and I will see you in the next video.